Hey Coppell High School, it's your superintendent, Dr. Brad Hunt, and I am here with a brief update about all things CISD. I've got our Chief Financial Officer, Diana Surkar, who will be giving you some updates regarding our budget. We do have some budget challenges, and we want to make sure that we are sharing that with all of our stakeholders, including our staff. And then our Chief of Communications is going to give you an update on just where we are with our strategic plan and a little bit about next school year. But first, I just want to say thank you for helping the 2023-2024 school year to be such a successful one. It was amazing for CISD. All of our campuses and central office worked so well together. As you know, our theme this year was Mission Possible, and I believe we worked hard as a team to try to achieve our mission. So thank you, Coppell High School, for helping to make the school year so great. As you know, in Coppell ISD, we have 4 core values: great teaching, redefining success, relationships, and engagement. It is our normal practice to be engaging with all stakeholders, but it is the specific expectation of our school board that we are engaging with all stakeholders related to our budget challenges. As we go through these budget challenges together, we want to make sure that our vision is right on the forefront. Our vision of you matter. You matter in CISD as an employee, as a parent, and as a community member and staff member. Everybody in CISD matters to all of us. But really, to me, the key is going to be our mission statement and the first 2 words, working together. By working together, we will tackle any problem that comes our way. We've already shown that before. As you all know, cowboy fight never dies. And just like our previous situations that we've had to work through, we'll tackle our budget challenges together. As you know, in Coppell ISD, our students are more than just one test one day. They're more than just their GPA. But the Texas Education Agency has rated Coppell ISD an A district. All of our campuses are either an A or a B, and we're very proud of that. But again, we don't hang our hat on that alone. Our kids are so much more than that. But these stats are important to our current families as well as our future families. So we want to make sure that when people make their choices in public education, they're choosing Coppell ISD. Right now, families have a variety of choices. They can do public ed, private ed, they can do homeschool, online school, or charter schools. We just want to make sure that in Coppell ISD, our families know the best choice is Coppell ISD. And so we want to make sure that we show our families where we stack up with other school districts in the North Texas area. And you can see we are significantly higher in regarding our enrollment for the other districts that are also an A district, and specifically our charter schools. We are outperforming charter schools on every level. That's what I want to make sure that our community understands. I'm not bashing charter schools. Charter schools have a place and they do great things. But I'm not the superintendent of a charter school. I'm the superintendent of Coppell ISD, the best public school, and I want to make sure our families know that. One of the things that has made this year such a stellar year is the implementation of our new STEAM program. Science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math has been incorporated into every one of our elementary schools. We've always had some elements of this in some of our CISD elementary schools, but we've never had a district-wide initiative like we've launched this year. This is important not only for our elementary students, but it will also help with vertical planning for CTE courses in middle school as well as high school. Very proud of this work and excited to see what will the impact this will have on our secondary schools. And talk about a stellar year, man, our kids have excelled in all areas. Our 99% graduation rate is outstanding. Last year's senior class had almost $25 million in scholarships. AP honor roll, you name it, CISD and Coppell High School have received those amazing accolades. And let's talk about the 49 National Merit semifinalists. 49. That's a record number for us. It's a record for many school districts. They can't compete with that. 1 at New Tech, 48 at Coppell High School. So very proud of these students, so very proud of the teachers that work with these kids each and every day. Thank you, Coppell High School staff, for being so amazing. And talk about some superstars. These 8 young men and women had a perfect score on their SAT and their ACT. A perfect score. Ms. Springer, that means that they never missed one answer. Not one. So not only are we proud of our kids for performing as well academically, we also know that our kids are excelling in all areas in CISD. These 8 kids represent students that are involved in fine arts, band, choir, drama, athletes, chess club, DECA, you name it, these kids are super involved. And not only are they high-performing kids, they're just good young men and women. Super proud of them, super proud of them all. But obviously Daruv with the perfect score on both his SAT and his ACT, and then the two young men who are juniors that had a perfect score. Wow, so proud of them. Again, thank you Coppell High School for helping these kids succeed. Talk about great teaching, talk about some amazing educators. Couldn't have picked a better person as the Campus Teacher of the Year and our Secondary District Teacher of the Year than Chase Wofford. Congratulations to Chase on this outstanding accomplishment, and really to all of Coppell High School's amazing faculty and staff. You have helped make this year so great. It was a stellar year in CISD, and it was a stellar year for Coppell High School. You name the area, athletics, fine arts, academics, our kids have excelled. So thank you again to all these amazing educators, coaches, staff members, everyone that contributed to helping to make this year so successful. I get stopped a lot in the community about our budget challenges and how can we have budget challenges when we had a bond that passed last year of $321 million. Well, I'm very grateful to the Coppell community for supporting our bond last spring. But as you all know, the bond money is separate from our maintenance and operations. It's our maintenance and operations is where we have our budget challenges. So thankful that the bond passed because we're able to utilize those funds for all of these projects and more. And you can see on our website where we have what's been completed, what's in process. A lot of work's been done on the bond already. Specific to Coppell High School, you can see all the things that are listed here. But remember, these are different. This is a different challenge with our budget than the bond money. Bond money can only be spent on bond-approved projects. And Diana Surkar, our Chief Financial Officer, is going to go more in-depth on that when she does her part. But I did want to make you aware that the budget priorities that were established by the board last spring remain into effect. The board has already acknowledged that these are the priorities that they wanted to follow and us as staff members follow as we work on the 24-25 budget and beyond. And so right now what we have is still a top priority, retaining high quality staff, attracting high quality staff. That's important to the board. It's super important to all of us as staff members. You can see the rest of the priorities that are listed here. I do want to point out though that our fund balance is a critical piece for using that to get through this difficult time, but it's not something that's going to be in place forever. And so when Ms. Surkar does her part, she'll explain more in depth about the fund balance as well as where we are with our budget challenges.
Thanks, Dr. Hunt. School districts have two taxes that they collect. The first is the maintenance and operations tax. And the taxes that go into that bucket pay for our everyday expenses, things like salaries and utilities and even our student transportation. And then the INS, or interest in sinking tax rate, the money that comes in for that pays the interest and principal on the bonds that we issue. And then those bond dollars, as Dr. Hunt mentioned, can only be used to pay for capital projects like renovations, technology, both infrastructure and devices, and even school buses. School districts are funded based upon the average daily attendance of its students. So a student that attends 100% of the school days during the year will provide $6,160 to the school district in funding. If a student doesn't attend every day, the district will get something less than that amount. There are some students with characteristics that drive some additional funding. Think of things like career in tech, special education, or dyslexia, or even emergent bilinguals. Those students drive a little bit of extra funding. So imagine then that the average daily attendance of all of the students in the district, they make up our funding glass. And we start filling up that glass with local maintenance and operations tax revenue. And if we can't fill the glass all the way up, the state will fill up the remaining amount. However, Coppell ISD, like many school districts in the North Texas area, are property wealthy districts, and the district collects more taxes than we get to keep. So our tax dollars overflow, and all of the money that is higher than the amount in that glass goes back to the state in the form of recapture. Sometimes people will ask, well, why don't we just lower our tax rate so we're only collecting a glass full of taxes? Unfortunately, the state also requires us to tax at a certain rate. If we don't tax at a certain rate, they will shrink the size of our glass. We are facing some budget challenges, and a lot of it has to do with inflation. We've had cumulative inflation of over 20% since 2019, and 2019 was the last time that the state legislature increased the basic allotment to that $6,160 level. In addition, the state puts mandates on school districts. One of those new ones is the requirement for an armed security guard at every campus. Unfortunately, the state has not provided enough funding to cover all of that, and it looks like the district will be responsible for covering about 75% of the cost of having all that armed security at our campuses. The state had more than a $33 billion surplus this year. They, in fact, had about $4 billion of funding set aside for school districts in the state budget. They had some commissions and committees that looked at things over the last couple of years, one being teacher vacancies. Why are teachers leaving the profession? What can we do to help teachers? There was money in the budget for that. Also, special education. The state is very aware that they are not funding special education at the levels they need to be funding. There was money in the budget for special education funding, but unfortunately there were no laws that would passed that would allow that money to flow out to school districts. So that $4 billion in budget is sitting at the state level and will likely remain there and just expire with this biennium session. We'll have to wait for our senators and representatives go back to Austin in 2025 and look at more legislation to get money to schools. One of our other challenges is our enrollment. Our enrollment was growing. We were projected to hit 14,000 students. And then COVID hit and we lost a few students, and we've gained those back, and you see those in the gray and blue bars. But then our demographer talked to us a lot about the changes that are happening, changes in the United States, changes in Texas, even changes locally. And a lot of that has to do with, one, the price of housing, especially in Coppell ISD. It's very difficult for somebody to come in and buy a starter home with young children in the elementary level. We also know that there are people that are working remotely, and they may not even be enrolling their students in public schools. They might be doing something more offline so that they can take their kids and go where they want. But this chart shows our current enrollment. The gold bar is our current enrollment, and each column is a grade level. And you'll see that in kindergarten, there were about 700 students enrolled. Fifth grade, about 1,000, and then over 1,000 in 12th grade. So we expect over 1,000 to graduate in 12th grade and only 700 coming in. We've got a 300 student difference there. And year after year, if we're losing 300 students, that's going to impact the district. However, the demographer does expect that we will regain some of that enrollment in the middle and high school years. Some of that may be because if neighborhoods are regenerating, then the families that move in are going to have older kids. Or we often see that kids come back to Coppell ISD in the middle school area if they had been at a charter school before. So we expect that enrollment will be much lower at elementary school now, and then in a couple of years, as those elementary grades start filtering up into secondary, we do expect that we're going to start losing some secondary, middle school, and high school enrollment. Attendance is really important, not only to keep kids in school because that's where they learn best, but also because it impacts our funding, that average daily attendance. So if the district had a 96.7% attendance rate for 3 years in a row prior to COVID. Since COVID, we haven't been able to get up to 96%. So if we can increase our attendance rate by 1 percentage point, that's $1 million in funding for the school district. That means our glass would be $1 million larger. So we've been doing some things to really encourage attendance. The communications department has put out information this past fall. They're putting out a campaign this spring, and you'll see another one next fall, because we're really trying to educate our families on the importance of attendance, but also that if they take their student out for a doctor's appointment, if they bring a note, the district can receive funding for that. So you'll see more and more on that. As we found when we've talked to our families and our PTOs about this, that they're very confused and they need some explanation, so we'll be providing that at the district level. And finally, our fund balance. Imagine that our fund balance is sort of a savings account that we use, and we need to use that money from September until December. We don't start collecting tax revenue until December, January, and February. So we have to have about $42 million worth of money in the bank so that we can pay all of the salaries, keep the lights on, and pay any operating expenses. That $42 million is the red line, horizontal line across this chart. The very first green bar represents the fund balance at the end of last school year. We had about $75 million in fund balance, but the board passed a $13 million deficit budget. We don't expect that we will actually experience a $13 million deficit, as we typically save $2 or $3 million during the year. Through about 8 months, it looks like we're going to realize an $8 or $9 million deficit. So if we subtract that from our fund balance, it's not going to be too many years before we are below that $42 million. And this is what we're trying to avoid. The scenario that's on the screen now is what we're trying to avoid. We'd like to smooth that out by making some long-term, sustainable changes to our budget that will help us to reduce our overall expenditures.
Thank you, Diana. I'm going to share some information about how the district is, in spite of our budget challenges, moving forward. Next school year, we're going to have 3 superintendent priority goals that we're going to be working towards. The first one is our strategic plan, Coppell ISD 2030. And that plan really looks at the development of our strategic plan. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Our second goal is quality instruction and professional learning communities, and that ties in our tier 1 instruction, our MTSS work, and really the great teaching that's happening in our classrooms every day. And our third goal is safety and security and the well-being of our students and our staff, and we're going to be talking about through that goal all of the mental health resources that we have available to our students and to our families and to our staff, and then we'll be talking about also the physical safety as we address House Bill 3. The school district launched into a strategic planning initiative this school year, and it's been based upon 7 years of work, where we had our strategic design 7 years ago, where we developed our core values, we developed our mission and our vision. We've had since then our long-range facility planning committee, our bond committee, and our visioning work, and all of that served as the foundation for our strategic planning work this year. Our school board adopted our strategic plan in February of 2024, and it had 9 objectives, 16 strategies, 22 specific results, all built upon our community-based accountability pillars. And it's really the work that's leading us forward in our school district. Part of that is the new iteration of I Heart Coppell ISD, our marketing campaign called My Home is Coppell ISD. We know that Coppell ISD is a destination school district. Families move here because of our schools. And so we're going to use the My Home is Coppell ISD to tell the stories of why our families moved to Coppell ISD, why our families moved to Coppell High School, and why our staff chooses to work in Coppell ISD and why they choose to work at Coppell High School. And really telling those stories, it's a recruitment tool to our students and families, but it's also a recruitment tool to recruit the highest quality staff to work in Coppell ISD. As we're wrapping up this school year and looking ahead to the 24-25 school year, we want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that you can expect next school year. As we've been doing these budget talks around to all of our campuses and to community members, sometimes they mention convocation, and so that we could possibly cut convocation and save a little bit of money. And so we thought about that as a school district and really felt like that convocation is really at the heart of who we are with engagement and relationships. And so we are partnering with our local businesses, including our Education Foundation, to provide support to cover the cost of convocation. Convocation is August the 9th, and so we're looking forward to seeing you there, and we're excited that we'll have business partners helping to pay for convocation. And here's the theme for convocation. So just like The Price is Right, this place is right. And so we're going to have a fun game show theme for convocation on August the 9th, sponsored by our Education Foundation and other business sponsors. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hunt.
Thanks again, Coppell High School, for making this such a great school year. I think it's been one of the best ones we have had. I'm so proud of our students, our staff, our teachers, everyone that helped to make this year so great. I wish you all the best this summer. Have a relaxing and joyful one. For those that are retiring or not coming back to CISD, I wish you all the best. And for those that are coming back, I will see you in August. Thanks, everybody.